Hello everyone, welcome to this course dedicated to learning the MoviePy library for Python in order to automate the editing of your videos. The goal of this course is to teach you how to develop Python scripts capable of mass processing your videos. You will learn how to write Python scripts to process hundreds of videos at once. Whether resizing, cropping, converting formats, adding text, music, or transitions, MoviePy greatly simplifies mass video editing while producing professional quality videos ready for publishing on online platforms. In this course, we will work on a real-world video editing automation project. It will involve automatically compiling the best moments of a video game with a series of edits, which is a representative real-world case that can be easily automated to handle large amounts of video. The Python script can then be reused for any other type of compilation, such as compilations of sports highlights, compilations of funny animal videos, etc. And you don't need any prior knowledge, as the course explains everything you need to know and provides all the necessary resources. You can complete the course at your own pace. So without further ado, let's start this course together to learn how to automate your video editing with the Python and MoviePy. During this training, I will be using the code editor Visual Studio Code. It is a widely used code editor that offers many advantages. So if you also want to work with it, I will show you in the next video how to install it on your computer and how to install Python with it if it's not already done. However, if you already have a code editor installed on your computer that you prefer to use, you can certainly continue using it during this course. You can use any code editor you prefer. And for those who want to install Visual Studio Code as well as Python if it's not already done, we will see how to do all that in the next video. In this video, we will see how to easily install Python and Visual Studio Code. You will see it only takes a few steps and a few minutes, allowing us to access to this very widely used development environment. It is currently the most popular development environment in the world, used for many languages, including Python. So to begin, we will first install Python, because we need the programming language installed before we can use it in Visual Studio Code. So let's go to the official Python page. Click on Downloads, and here you should see a yellow button offering to download the latest version of Python for your operating system. Since I'm on Windows, it suggests downloading Python for Windows. I can see that they are proposing me the version 3.11 of Python, but by the time you watch this video, there may be a newer version, like 3.12, 3.13. You can just download the version displayed on your screen without any issues. So let's click on Download Python. The .exe file starts downloading. Let's wait for it to download. Alright, so it's done on my side. And once it's downloaded, we can launch the executable file. So we have this window that is appearing. Here it's very important. Check the box add python.exe to path. So this is a small option related to what we call environment variables. I highly recommend checking this box, as it might not work properly if you don't. Then let's click on Install Now. Click Yes and wait for the installation. Once the installation is complete, we get the message Setup was successful, so the installation went correctly. We can click on this option Disable Path Length Limit, because on some operating systems, particularly Windows, there is a limit on the length of path for accessing a file. If your path exceeds 260 characters, it might be impossible to navigate through such a long path and retrieve a file at the end. This situation rarely occurs, but to be safe, we can click here, then click Yes, and it's done. We can click on Close, and now Python is installed on your computer. Next, we will install Visual Studio Code. Now that we have the Python programming language on your computer, we need a development environment. Basically, a software that will allow us to easily write and execute Python code. And for that, we are going to use Visual Studio Code. So let's search for Visual Studio Code. click on the first link and then click on download. You can select your operating system. Again, since I'm on Windows, I choose Windows, and then we can see that it starts downloading. Let's wait for it to download. Alright, it's done on my side for the download of VS Code. Once it's done, similarly, click on the .exe file. It will launch. Then here we can click on I accept the agreement, then next. You can change the installation folder if you wish, but I'll continue clicking next, leave it as default, click next again, and it's installing. Perfect, so the installation was very quick. It will launch and we land on this window. So you can close the welcome window if you want. You can change the theme to either a white background with different colors or a black background with higher contrast. I recommend keeping the default theme, which is dark and modern, to avoid eye strain. You can now close this window. Now, before we start coding, let's install two extensions to facilitate programming in VS Code. So click on the extension button here. Then install the Python extension, which is the first one. Click on install, it's very quick. And once it's installed, we can install another extension called Code Runner, which will add a button to easily execute Python code. So click on install, again it's very quick. Once done, you can close these two windows. I recommend closing and reopening VS Code to ensure all extensions load correctly. Do this just once after installing the extensions. Now let's test a Python code to see if everything works correctly. So we can create a new Python file by going to the top left. Let's click on new file and select Python file. You can write here anything. I will type print hello world, the typical first code when learning a new programming language. Let's save the file by pressing Ctrl S. Save it on the desktop, for example. Name it test and click save. Now the file appears on the desktop as test.py. Now execute it by clicking on the run code button. And you should see the text hello world in the console. Perfect! So that was all for this video. We saw how to install Python, Visual Studio Code, and some extensions to make writing Python code easier. During this training, we will use the MoviePy library, which was developed for Python. This library will allow us to do video editing in Python, and more importantly, it will allow us to automate the editing of videos massively. Note that this library does not come with Python when we install Python for the first time, so you will need to install it separately. To do this, it's very simple. Open your terminal and then simply type pip install MoviePy like this. You can do this in a virtual environment if you prefer. Once done, press enter. The MoviePy library will then be installed. So I've already installed the library on my side, so I don't need to do it again. But you will see it will install quickly, and then we can start developing. So that was all for this video. Thank you everyone. Alright, so you will find in the description of this video the resources that we will use during this training. It is a zip file that you can download, and it is approximately 160 megabytes. So it might seem a bit large, but that's normal, because it contains videos that we will use for the training. So these are the videos that we will assemble using MoviePy and where we will do editing. So I invite you to download the zip file. You can place it somewhere on your computer. You can create a brand new folder that will contain the entire project that we will do during this training. So that's what I did. I created a new folder called the MoviePy course, and in this folder I placed the zip file that you can download from the description. So let's extract this file to retrieve the files inside. I click on extract all, and then I click on the extract button. Now we have this folder that appears. Let's go inside right away. Inside this folder, we can see that we have 3 other folders and a file in the Python format. We will go through each of these elements one by one. So we can see that we have a first folder called clips. If we go inside, we can see that we have 10 videos in MP4 format. So these are videos that are about 30 seconds long and are clips from the video game Valorant. So during this training, these are the clips that we will use. And we will see how to assemble them, edit them using Python and MoviePy, add music, transitions, an introduction, etc. The idea is that we can then use this script for many other clips to generate automated videos whenever we have clips like this. So in this video, we'll make a compilation of the best moments from the game Valorant. But you understand that the script can work with any other video game clips, or it can also be clips for anything really. It could be clips of the best moments in sports, in football for example, etc. So that will be our goal during this training. Assemble all these clips automatically, edit them, and finally obtain a full HD video that we can then publish on video platforms. So here I have just taken 10 clips. We could have added more, but it is sufficient for this training. You can then go back to your folder. We will see another folder called output, which is empty for now. And this is the folder we will use to store the final videos generated by our Python program. For now, it is empty because we have not yet created the program and we have not yet executed it to have the final video created by the program. Let's go back to our folder, and finally we have the resources folder, where inside we have a number of resources that we will use for the editing. We have a font that we will use, an introductory video that we will place at the very beginning of the video before the clips play, a music track that will play in the background, an outro video, so this one is the very last video that will be shown at the end of the video, and finally a transition video file between each clip. You will see we will integrate each of these elements as the course progresses. Next, we can return to the folder we have created, and here we finally have a Python file that is currently empty. So I open it, and we can see that inside there is no code, nothing. I just created it and placed it in this folder to save some time for you. And it is in this Python file that we will write all of our code. Alright. Also, if we click on this little button here, the Explorer button, we can see that there is no folder attached to Visual Studio Code currently. So what we will do is click on the Open Folder button here. You can also do it by clicking on the File button, then Open Folder, so I click on it, and then I have to find the folder where the Python script is located. So we have the MoviePy course resources folder, and as soon as we enter in this folder, we arrive here, where we have our 3 folders, clips, outputs, and resources. And this is the folder that we will open. So I click on the Select a Folder button, my Visual Studio Code window refreshes, and then we can see on the left that I have the 3 folders of my directory. So again, we have the clips folder, which contains the 10 clips we will work on, the outputs folder, which will contain the videos we will create, and the resources folder, which contains the various resources we will integrate into the video. And of course, we have the Python file that I have just showed you, which is currently empty and on which we'll write all of our code. So when you want to execute the code or modify it, always remember to open the folder where all these elements are located, so they will be displayed here. And this way the Python script will not have any problems finding the different resources, because the Python code here will need these resources to create the video, which we will see later in this course. Again, the zip file to access these resources is available in the video description, so feel free to download it, and once that is done, we will meet in the next video to start the development. Now that we have put in place all the necessary resources for automatic video editing, we can start the development. First, if we open the clips folder contained in the zip file we downloaded, we can see the different videos we will be looking to assemble and edit during this course. Here, we have taken the example of 10 clips from the video game Valorant, but of course, they can be clips of anything. You just need to have a series of videos to assemble, and the code that we will write will work. So let's open one of the clips together to see what the video contains.
Nice. Got him.
Spike down. One enemy remaining.
Resizing.
Y'all should have stayed home.
So as you can see, these are best moments clips from Valorant, featuring some great actions on the video game. So we have 10 of them, and in this first video of the course, we will develop a method to assemble these 10 clips into a single MP4 video that combines all of them. For that, we can go back to Visual Studio Code and let's create a video in MP4 format that combines all of them. So here I'm in the folder that we've obtained with the zip file. You can just open the automatic video editing Python file, which is the Python file we will use throughout this training for our development. It is currently empty, and let's start writing our code. So the first thing we will do is retrieve all the clips in the clips folder using the Python file. So here in the directory we have our 10 clips and we need to fetch them with the Python. To do this, let's use a library called glob. So this library is used to search for files on your computer. Next, we will create a variable containing the path to access each of these clips. Let's type a comment first. It's a convention I recommend you to follow. You should really add comments in your code to explain what we do at each step. So here, let's type collect all clips, and then let's create a new variable called the clips. We can use the glob function from the glob library. So we need to type glob twice here, glob.glob. Let's open parentheses and specify the path to access the clips. So we open parentheses with quotes and type the clips folder name. So if you wanted to access the output folder, we will type output. Let's type a slash and then specify that we want to fetch all files. So there are 10 of them. There are several ways to do this. We can manually specify the name of each clip, or we can use more efficient methods to specify all files with the same extension. Here we can see that each of our files is in MP4 format. So we can put an asterisk.mp4 to retrieve all the MP4 files in this folder, allowing us to get all our clips. We can see if Python correctly fetches our different clips. To do this, you just have to type print, open parenthesis, clips. Remember to save your code by pressing Ctrl S and then run the code. So I executed the code and we can see in the console the path to all our clips appearing. Note that for the clip names, we have the clip numbering first and the player's name. So the player who performed the action on the right. So at this stage, we have just retrieved the path to treat them. Let's delete the print statement. It's unnecessary right now. And let's create a list to contain all these clips. Right now, the clips are all separated and our goal is to group them into a single MP4 video. So let's start by creating an empty list. Let's type initialize a list to store all processed clips. So this list will be called all clips. I advise you to use clear variable names to understand their purposes. So this list will store all the videos. And to list the clips, let's create a loop to fetch all these clips, transform them into MoviePy objects for later processing. So here let's type a comment process each game clip and let's create a loop. We can type for clip underscore path in clips. So for each clip you have fetched, we will process it. The first point that we have to do is that each MP4 file that we have is in a format that cannot be manipulated by MoviePy. When the MoviePy library edits the different videos we provide, it cannot work directly with the MP4 files. It's a file format that we have to adapt for MoviePy to perform operations on it. So to do this, we first need to import a function from the MoviePy library. So let's type from moviepy.editor import video file clip. Video file clip is the function that will allow us to convert these MP4 videos into a format that MoviePy can process. Let's type a comment, create a video file clip object, and resize it. I will explain the resize part later. So let's create a new variable called video_clip and call the function we just imported, video file clip, with clip path. So this little piece of code will convert the MP4 video into a format that MoviePy can use for editing. But the final video will be in MP4 format to publish on any platform, so don't worry about it. By the way, it can also be another format. It's not limited to MP4. It can be, for example, .mov. So next, an interesting feature that comes with the function video file clip is that we can also resize each clip. Generally, we want our final videos in Full HD format. So in 1920 by 1080 pixels. But some clips can come in different formats, such as 1280 by 720 pixels, or smaller or larger formats. And if all the videos don't have the same dimensions, the final video will have some clips appearing too small or too large, which won't look good. So we add a bit of code to ensure all clips have the same dimensions. So here we will choose 1920 by 1080 pixels, which is a Full HD format used by all video platforms. So here let's type a comma and type target_resolution equals, we can open parentheses here, and then we type 1080, 1920. So we put the height first and then the width. And this code will ensure that all the MP4 files will be in 1920 by 1080 format, avoiding dimension issues. If you want, you can test this by taking some clips with different formats. By the way, to know the video format, go to the clips folder, pick a video, right click, then click on properties. And in the details tab, you'll see the video dimensions. So here we have 1920 by 1080 pixels. So this video doesn't need modification since it's already in Full HD format. But if it were, for example, in 1280 by 720 pixel, which is a common format, the program will then resize it to 1920 by 1080 pixels. Perfect. So next, we will add each processed video to the list we created earlier to have all the videos in one list to concatenate them later. So let's type a comment, add the processed clips to the list, and then we can type the code all_clips.append within parentheses video clip. So this line adds each video clip to the all clips list. To summarize, in this loop, we have fetched each clip from the clips folder, converted to the video file clip format used by MoviePy, resized it, and added to the all clips list to have all videos in just one list. Finally, we have to concatenate these clips. So here let's type a comment, concatenate all processed clips. We can create a new variable called final_video and import a new function called concatenate video clips. This function will allow us to combine all the clips into one video. And here we specify the list containing our clips, which is the variable all_clips. So now the last step is generating our MP4 video. Let's type a comment, write the final video to an MP4 file. We can retype our variable final video and then use the function write_video file. So this code will convert our edited video back to MP4 format. We open parentheses and specify the folder to save the video. So let's save it in the output folder, which has been created to store our edited videos. So I'm typing here output/video.mp4. By the way, the video.mp4 will be basically the name of your video inside your computer. So you can replace the video port with any name you want actually. But here I'm keeping it simple, I'm just typing video, it's sufficient for the moment. And don't forget to specify the format. So here I have typed .mp4. Lastly, we must specify the number of FPSs we want in the video. Usually we use 60 FPSs for smooth videos. So I type FPS equals to 60. Basically, FPSs are the number of frames per second in your video. The more you have, the more your video will be better. It will be more smooth, more fluid. Next, let's save the script. Here I'm pressing Ctrl S. And we can run it to see if we got our final edited video with all the clips combined. But just before running the code, remember that the more clips are in the folder, the longer will be the execution of the code. Here we work with the MP4 videos, each about something like 30 seconds long, so the execution may take a while, but keep in mind that this is normal. If you have used editing software like Adobe Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro, you know that rendering videos takes time. Here we basically do the same, but with the Python. So save your code and run it. And keep in mind that it's normal if it takes time. So to run the code in Visual Studio Code, click on Run a Python file rather than Run Code to execute the code directly in the terminal. This avoids display issues in the output window. So here I clicked on Run Python file. We see a message from MoviePy confirming the video is being edited, with the audio editing first and then video editing. A progress percentage appears, and at 100% our video will be ready. And by the way, this display in the terminal is why I recommend clicking on Run Python file, as the percentage display might be incorrect in the terminal if we have clicked on Run code. Perfect, so here we are at 100%. We see a message from MoviePy saying the video is ready in the indicated path. So let's check the output folder, and here we can find the video. I double click on it. So the video lasts 3 minutes containing all our clips. We can quickly view it. So the first clip is displayed.
Got him.
Spike down B. One enemy remaining.
Resizing.
Y'all should have stayed home.
Advancing, we see the second clip that follows automatically.
Headshot. Nailed him.
One enemy remaining.
And this continues until the last clip. Perfect. So now we have our video with all the clips assembled. So to summarize, in this video we saw how to combine multiple MP4 files into one. We concatenated all the clips and resized them to 1920 by 1080 pixels to ensure uniform dimensions. Without resizing, some clips would appear smaller with black bars on the sides, which would not look good. With this code, we can assemble many clips into a final HD video with the 60 FPS. You can verify this by right-clicking on the output video, selecting Properties and checking the Details tab. So here we can see that the video is in the full HD dimensions and with the 60 FPS. So at this stage, we have a video base for further editing. And during this course, we will modify this video to add an intro, an outro video, a background music, some transitions between clips, and text to credit the authors of the clips. So keep your code, as well we will improve it in the future videos, and I'll see you in the next video. Now that we have seen how to concatenate a set of videos to generate a single video in MP4 format, we will look to improve this video a bit. So if I go back to my directory in the outputs folder, I have the video that we generated in the previous tutorial. So I'm opening it, and as a result, it's simply the 10 clips that we have assembled. But the editing of this video is very basic. We only group the videos together, resize them, and export them with the 60 FPS. But for this type of video, for this kind of compilation, it's good to add other elements on top, such as background music. It is very common to see a little background music in this type of video, and that's what we're going to do in this video. We will ensure to add a background music that lasts the entire duration of the video. So this video currently lasts 3 minutes and 4 seconds. And we will make sure to add music that also stops at 3 minutes and 4 seconds. And we will even modify the code to ensure that if our music only lasts 2 minutes, for example, and the video with the assembled clips lasts 3 minutes, we will make the music loop so that it restarts and ends precisely at 3 minutes and 4 seconds. Perfect. So let's close this window and we can go in the resources folder. So in the resources folder, there are several elements that we will use during this training, including the music element, which is the music we will play in the background. You can open this file to listen to the music if you wish. So it is an MP3 file. I open it. I let you listen to the music if you wish. So it's a music that has a bit of a video game feel, and it is, by the way, royalty free. It is a music by the artist Kevin MacLeod, which is royalty free and can be used as long as you mention the author. So thanks to him. And it's also a music that fits well with the theme of the video we are editing. So a compilation of the best moments in video games. Perfect. Let's move to our Python code. Here I'm on my Python code, and the first thing we will do is to retrieve the music as we did for the clips. So if I go to resources, we will retrieve the music.mp3 file. For that, let's modify the code a bit. So let's keep a line here and type define path for resources, like this. And let's create a variable called the music path. So the path to access the music. Let's use the quotation marks as we did for the clips. And this time we will not use the glob function with an asterisk .mp4 since we are looking for only one mp3 file and not all elements in the resources folder. So I will type the name of the folder first, resources. So this folder, slash, and here I will type the name of my file. So music.mp3, like this. So we have retrieved the path to access our music, and we will be able to integrate it into our video. For that, we will need to import a new function, which is the audio file clip function. So this function works exactly like the video file clip function. So video file clip allows us to convert a video to the MoviePy format so that we can edit it. And audio file clip is exactly the same, but for audio files. So we convert audio files, maybe MP3 files for example, to a format that can be edited by MoviePy. Very well. So let's modify our code. We can skip a line here. And after using the concatenate video clips function, we will type a comment. It will be a bit long because we will perform certain operations. Let's type a load background music and loop it to match the duration of the clips. So first we will load the background music and then we will loop it to match the duration of the clips. So if our music lasts only 2 minutes, but the total duration of our clips is 6 minutes, then we will loop the music so that it ends at the end of the 6 minutes. We will basically repeat the music until the clips end. Very well. So let's create a new variable called background music, abbreviated as a BG music. Let's type equal, and here we use the function we imported. So audio file clip, like this. I open parentheses, and here I simply put the path to the music we defined here. There. So we have loaded the music and converted it to the format used by MoviePy. Then we need to modify the duration of the music to match the total duration of the clips. For that, we will create a new variable called looped music, and we will use a new function that we will also import. This time, let's type from MoviePy.audio fx all import audio loop. So it's a new function that we import and we'll use directly. So we type audio loop like this, we open parentheses, and we specify the music we want to shorten or lengthen. So let's type the variable we just created here, background music, and then we must specify the duration this music should have. For that, we type the parameter duration, like this. And to get the duration, it's very simple. We type our concatenated video, just here. So final video. I remind you that this line of code allows us to concatenate all our videos, and so it contains our final video. And if I call this variable in the duration parameter and then type the method .duration, I will be able to retrieve the total duration of the video with all the clips grouped together. And that's what we want. With this line of code, we have modified the duration of the music to match the duration of all the grouped clips. So for example, if all the grouped clips last 4 minutes and 15 seconds in total, then the music here will also last 4 minutes and 15 seconds. How does this work? Basically, the music is replayed to match the duration of the video. Now that we have modified the duration of the music, we need to integrate it into the video. Because currently, in the code we wrote, we have only converted to music to the format used by MoviePy and modified its duration. But we have not yet integrated it into the video. For this, let's type a new line of code here. First, I will type a comment. Combine the audio of the clips with the background music. And so to do this, we must import again a new function, which is the composite audio clip function. This function will allow us to combine the background music with the audio from the clips. So we will basically merge the two audio tracks into a single track. I will create a new variable here called final video with the music. In this variable, I will call the final video variable. So this is the video that does not contain the music, only the assembled clips. And I will use the setAudio method to define the audio that will play in this video. Next, let's open parentheses and use the function we just imported, composite audio file clip. And then open again some parentheses and some brackets. Let's type firstly finalvideo.audio to define that we will have the sound of the clips first. So the sound from the clips of Valorant. And then we must specify the background music, which we define here as the looped music. And we also need to specify the duration that must match the duration of the clips. So I typed here set_duration, open parentheses, and type final_video.duration. Perfect. Then we just need to modify the last line of code, because the video we will write at the end is no longer the final video variable, but final video with the music. And now we should be good. If I execute this code, I should have the video we obtained previously, the exact same video, but with the added background music. And by the way, we should pay attention to the file name. Currently we have kept the same name as the video that we previously generated. If you leave the same name, it will simply replace the old video file. But if you want to keep both versions for comparison, for example, you can simply put a new name here. For example, a video with music. And thus, we will not replace the previous video. You do as you wish. In any case, it will not impact the result of this video. So we can now execute the script. Again, let's go to run and click on run Python file. You can also click on run code directly, but the display in the terminal will not be the same. But keep in mind that in any cases, it will not impact the video. So let's click on run Python file, and now the script will begin to execute. Perfect. So here the music has been added, and the video is currently being processed. Again, the more clips there are, and the longer they are, the longer the editing will take. If you want, for your tests, you can limit the number of clips. I have a powerful enough computer, so I can afford to include all the clips. That's not a problem. But you, if your computer is struggling a little bit, you can only keep 5 or 6 clips, and remove the rest. And when we will finish this project, you can use all the clips you want. Perfect, so let's wait for the editing to finish. We wait to reach 100%. By the way, we can already see in the output folder that we have the MP4 file of the video, but it is still being processed. We also have a temporary file that contains the music here, but this temporary file will be automatically deleted. And there we go. We have a message that says the processing is finished and that the video is ready in the output folder. So we have our video with the music.mp4 file, and we can also see that the mp3 file that appeared here for the editing has disappeared automatically. Very well. So let's open our folder, let's go to the output folder, and here we can see our two videos with the new one that was created and contains the music. So let's open it and we will be able to hear the music.
Nice. Got him.
Spike down. One enemy remaining.
Resizing. Good attempt.
One.
Very well. So of course, if you wish to use another music, you can do so. You simply need to modify the music file that is here and rename it to music.mp3. Or you can rename directly the name of the variable here, and it will work very well. The script is adapted to work with any music, and if you plan to publish this video on video platforms and monetize the videos, make sure to check if you have the rights to use this music. So for the music we use in this training, from the artist Kevin MacLeod, this music is royalty free. We can use it as long as we credit the author. Very well. So that was all for this video. We have seen how to put a background music that loops during a video, so this is something we see very regularly in compilations, whether it is a video game compilations or sports games, a lot of things. There is very often a little music that plays in the background, and that makes the video more pleasant to watch. Perfect. So in the next videos, we will continue to improve this video. See you everyone. Before moving on to the next lesson, please take a moment to rate this course and share your feedback. I will be delighted to hear your thoughts on the content and your overall experience. So, at this stage of the course, we have seen how to retrieve all our clips in the clips folder, as well as the music. And then we have seen how to transform each clip into a format usable by MoviePy. We then modified the resolution of each clip to be in 1920 by 1080 format, which is the Full HD format. We then combined all these clips together to form a single video. We added music that we modified to match exactly the duration of the video with the combined clips. And finally, we exported everything in the MP4 format to have a video ready to be published on video platforms. Now, we will continue to make modifications to this video. We will see how to add an introduction video and an outro video to the final video that we edit. So in this kind of compilation that you can see on the internet, there is often a little introduction with the creator's name and an outro video at the end, where people are usually asked to subscribe to the channel. You have surely seen content like this before. So in this video, I will show you how to add an intro at the beginning of the video and an outro at the end. For this, I have prepared some intro and outro files in advance. So these are the videos that we will add to our compilation. Let's quickly view them. So here I have the first file that serves as the introduction. So I click on it to open it, and let's take a look at it. Very well. So this is the introduction. The idea is to place this video at the beginning of the video, and we will do the same at the end with the outro. So for the outro, let's take a look at it. Perfect. So these are 2 videos that I have prepared beforehand, before the course. And by the way, again, you can download all of these files if you haven't downloaded everything already. Oh, and by the way, if you have your own introduction or your own outro video, you can of course use them instead. But for this course, I'm going to use the 2 files that I've just showed you. Oh, and by the way, you might have recognized the background music. It's again the music from Kevin MacLeod. It's the one that we have used in the previous video. Perfect, so let's go back to the code. So this was the code from the previous video. And first, let's import the intro and the outro files. So here I tap intro path equals, and inside the resources folder, and this time I type intro.mp4. And then we do exactly the same but for the outro. So I copy and paste this line of code, and here I put outro. Same, I modify here, and perfect. So we just specified the path to access our intro video and our outro video. Then we will need to process these 2 videos the same way we processed the clips. So these videos are currently in MP4 format, which is not a format that MoviePy can handle. So as we did for the clips here with the video file clip function, we will do exactly the same, but for these 2 videos. But you will see it will be very quick. Let's insert a line here and we can type a comment, create a video file clip for intro. Here I will create a list that I will call intro clips. So I put clips in plural. You will understand later why I use the plural. It's because later in the training we will add other things to this list. So here I open brackets and I type the path for the intro. So intro path. And as we did for the clips, we can resize the videos. So for the intro and the outro that we already have in the resources, these videos are already in the full HD format. So we don't actually need to specify the target resolution again. But if you are working on an intro that is not in this format, then it is better to put the code anyway. But if you are working on an intro that is not in this format, then it is better to put this code. So for me, even if the intro and the outro that I'm using are already in the format 1920 by 1080, it doesn't hurt to specify the target resolution again, so that we are sure that we have the full HD format. Perfect. So next, I will copy and paste these 2 lines of code and do the same for the outro. So here I type outro clips, and instead of using the intro path, I put outro path. For the target resolution we keep the same, and now that we have defined the path to access the intro and the outro and converted them with the video file clip, we will be able to integrate them into the final video. And you will see it's very easy to do. We can go down to the bottom of our code, and before exporting the video in MP4 format, let's make one last modification. Let's use the concatenate video clip function again. So I will copy and paste this code here, and I'm adding the comment combine the intro, main clips, and outro into the final video. In the parentheses, let's add the intro and the outro that we just imported. So I type intro clips, then I type plus, not a comma, because in Python, when we want to combine lists, we type plus. So intro clips plus main clips plus outro clips. There is a little particularity since intro clips and outro clips are lists with only one element inside. We need to put brackets in the second list, which here contains all our clips. Perfect. So now if we execute this code, we will get our video with the intro and the outro. So before we execute the code, let's rename some variables. For instance, we can see that final video appears multiple times. Let's modify it here. In this line of code, we were just assembling the clips together, but it's not the final video. Let's rather name it clipsport, like this, representing the clips portion. And then let's modify the other instances where we specify the final video. So here we put clipsport and we replace it here as well, and we do the same for this line. This way we will only have one final video variable, which will be the actual final video that includes the intro, the clips, the outro, and the music. Actually, even this variable here can be renamed to clipsport as well. Perfect. Next, here let's remove the with the music, leaving just a final video. And here we can type video with the intro and outro. Perfect. I could have specified that it also includes music as well, but I won't do that to avoid making the title too long. And that's it. So now we have our code that gathers all the clips from the clips folder, adds background music, and includes an intro and an outro at the end. So we can proceed to execute the code. So remember to save your work again. And now we can click on the Run Python file button. There we go. Let's enlarge the terminal a bit to see the results better. Oh, and we can see an error appearing. Oh yes, here in the brackets, I need to put clips port also to use here the clips that have been concatenated. Save your code, and now let's re-execute it. Normally there shouldn't be any errors now. So I click on Run Python file, and now the code is executing. We will end up with our video containing the intro, the outro, the clips, and the music. Let's wait for it to finish. In the meantime, for those used to work with Python, you may have noticed that for the intro and outro variables, we created a list even though there is only one element. It's not logical to create a list for a single element, but you will see in the next video that we'll make some small transformations where we will add elements to this list, making it more consistent to use lists. Here I prefer to create the list directly to avoid having to modify a lot of code later. Perfect. So if we go to the output folder, we should see the video being created here and also the audio file, which is a temporary file created during the editing process. And this file will be automatically deleted afterward. Perfect. So let's wait for the code to finish executing. And there we go. The code has finished executing and the video has been saved in the output folder. So let's go check the results immediately. Here we can see the video with a different thumbnail from the previous videos because a new element has been added. So I click on it and theoretically we should start directly with the intro, then the clips, and finally the outro. So let's play the video. First we see the intro and then it directly transitions to the clips.
Spike down. One enemy remaining.
Let's quickly go through the other clips. And if I go towards the end, we should see the outro. Perfect, so we can see that the code worked very well. We start with the intro, then move on directly to our clips, and at the end, after the last clip, we transition directly to the outro with a little video thanking viewers for watching and reminding them to subscribe. Perfect! So, we are getting closer to the compilation videos we can find on the internet. We understand that this editing process can be easily automated with the Python and MoviePy, as seen throughout this course. We are gradually creating a very polished video with an intro, an outro, a music, clips in Full HD format, 60 FPS, making it very close to our professional video that could be easily published on a video platform. Of course, we will make a few more tweaks to improve this video, which we will see in the upcoming videos. So that's all for this video. Remember to save your code by pressing Ctrl S. If you want to clean the console, you can write the clear command in the console and execute it. Perfect. So that was all for this video. I see you in the next one for more editing. In this video, we will see how to add a transition between each clip. So if we go back to the video we have created in the last video, so I'm going to my output folder, and it was this video. Let's take a look at it. Here we are on the intro, and you will see that when we move to the first clip, there is no transition. It's a bit abrupt. We moved directly to the first clip without any transition or anything. Personally, I don't find it very pleasant to watch, and it's the same for all other transitions between each clip. For example, if I go to the end of this first clip, you will see that we will move to the next clip in the same abrupt manner. So here we are on the second clip, and I would like that between each clip there is a little effect, a little transition that makes the change from one clip to another less abrupt. So if I go back to my clips, I would like to be a little transition between each video, something that makes the transition from one clip to another more pleasant to watch. And that's what we are going to do in this video. For this, we will use a video effect, another MP4 file, that will serve as a transition. It is a video that lasts about a second, maybe even less, and it has a visual snow effect, like on TV. So I'm going to open it, and you will see it's a simple video of not even a second with the visual snow, which is the name given to these small colored dots, these black and white dots, and I would like to apply this transition between each clip. It's a transition often seen in compilations, and it makes the transitions more pleasant to watch. Therefore, our goal in this video will be to integrate this transition between each clip. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code, back to the same code we wrote in the previous video where we added the intro and the outro. In the same way, we'll be able to add this transition effect. So let's add a variable containing the transition. So I type transition path like this, and like the previous variables, I will copy paste, and instead of putting outro, I type transition to get our transition file located in our resources folder. We will then apply this transition between each clip. For this, we need to modify this loop where we take each video, each clip from the clip folder, convert it with the video file clip function, and add each clip to a list to group them all. So what we are going to do is once we add a first clip, right after we will add the transition. So there will be a transition between each clip. Here, let's type a comment, add a video transition clip to the list, and then I'm adding it to the new list. So this new list will contain all our clips. So I type all clips.append, and then I call my transition. So I use the video file clip function, since the transition is currently an MP4 video format that needs to be converted to a format MoviePy can modify. So I'm using video file clip. I define the variable name to access the MP4 file, and then, like all the other video clips, I modified the resolution to 1920 by 1080. So first we specified the height and then the width. So with this modification, we will have a transition appearing between each clip. You will see it when we will execute the code. Before that, remember to change the name of the final video if you want. I will name it video with the transition, but even if you don't change the name, it won't be a big deal. It will just overwrite the old video. So let's execute this code to see the result. Let's click on Run Python file and wait for the code to execute. Again, if you wish, you can remove a few clips from the clips folder, like the last 4 or 5, to speed up the execution process. You can reintegrate them at the end of the course to have all the clips. For now, since we are still in the testing and development phase, you don't have to include all clips. Just a few so we can see the different transitions between each clip. So let's wait for the code to execute, and we will see the results at the end. So now the execution is complete, and we can see that the video has been created. Let's go watch it right away. So I go to my folder, then to my output folder, and I click on the newly created video. Let's fast forward a bit to any clip and wait for it to end. And then you will see the transition we added. Perfect! So you saw the transition between the clips. We can take another example. Let's go further into the video. So as you can see, there is a transition between each clip, making it much more pleasant to watch. However, there is one little thing missing. Currently, there is no transition between the intro and the first clip. I will show you. If we go back to the beginning and launch the video, you will see there is no transition between the intro and the first clip. There is, however, a transition for the last clip and the outro, which makes sense because in the code we always add the transition after each clip. So it's normal that after the last clip there is a transition added, resulting in a transition for the outro. Thus, we are missing only the transition between the intro and the first clip. This is a small modification that we will make right away. So let's go back to our code and make some changes to add this transition right after the intro. So we are going to modify this line of code, adding a new element with the video file clip function. This is why I used the plural here, even though we currently have only one element. Now we will have two. So to make the code easier to read, let's add a line break here separating the elements we will add. Here I type a comma and call the video file clip function again, placing the transition immediately after the intro. Then I set the target resolution as usual to keep the full HD format, although the video in our resources is already in this format. This code will automatically resize any future transitions that might not be in this format. So we have now added this transition. For consistency, we can do the same with the outro, but we won't add a transition here because there is already one after the last clip, as you saw. However, we can format the code to make it easier to read. Save the code, and now we have to concatenate the elements of this list. Currently, we have a list containing two videos, the intro and the transition. Now we need to group them. So copy and paste this line of code to concatenate the intro elements. Here, instead of clips, I use the intro part, and instead of all clips, I use the intro clips. This concatenates the intro with the transition. We can do the same with the outro, making development easier. Change the comments accordingly to concatenate the intro clips and concatenate the outro clips. Now let's go down in the code and make a final modification. So in the last concatenate function, since we are now working with lists containing multiple elements, let's remove the square brackets, replace the plus signs with the commas, and place the brackets just after the parentheses. We have to make this modification now that we are working with lists that have multiple elements, which will avoid us execution errors. So we have now made the necessary modifications to have the transition after the intro and all the other transitions that follow. So save the code again and let's modify the comment here. So here we typed intro and transition clips. You can also add outro here. And finally, execute the code by clicking on the Run Python file button. Before that, just clear the console by typing clear to clean it up. Click on Run Python file and the code will execute. Oh, we can see that we have a small error to correct. Here, instead of putting intro clips and outro clips, we need to put intro part and outro part. So we need to properly specify these variables since they contain the concatenation of the intro with the transition. Finally, let's execute the code. Beforehand, we can type clear to clean the console and then click on Run Python file. You will see first the audio processing, then the video processing. So the video is generated with the same name as the previous one, as I chose to overwrite the old one without the intro transition. So now that the execution is complete, let's go watch the video. So I return to my output folder and launch the video with transition. So first we see the intro, and then we should see the transition after the intro. And there it is, the transition right after the intro. And similarly, there's a transition between each clip, making the video much more pleasant to watch. We can verify this at the end as well, just before the outro. Perfect! So, in this video, we saw how to add a transition between each clip, something commonly seen in such videos. You saw it, it's not complicated to implement, and can be done quite easily. In the next videos, we will continue to explore other ways to edit our videos with MoviePy. So that was all for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. In this video, we will continue to make transformations on the video generated by our program by adding text this time. So if we go back to the folder containing our clips, by looking at the name of each clip, we can see that at the end of the name of each clip, there is the author of the player who recorded the video. For example, for the video number 4, the author is called Gravity, so it's the name of the player who made this clip. And it would be nice to mention the author's name in the video. We could, for example, add a small text at the top left with the author's name. So a small white text, for instance, that we would put in a fairly small font so that it doesn't cover the entire video. And in this way, we can mention the author. And that's what we're going to do with our program. We will modify it to add the author's name at the top left each time. So this is something that we can do, but to add text with MoviePy, we need first to install another element, another dependency, specifically the ImageMagick software. So here I am on the official MoviePy documentation, and it is clearly indicated here that ImageMagick is a dependency that can be useful if you want to write text on our videos. So it is a small dependency that we need to install in addition to be able to write text on our video with the Python and MoviePy. And by the way, once the software is installed, if you are on Windows, we will have to make a few small configurations so that MoviePy can detect ImageMagick. But if you are on Mac or Linux, in theory, ImageMagick should be detected automatically. So in this video, I will show you how to install ImageMagick and ensure it is detected by Windows. If you are working on a Windows machine, of course. So to install ImageMagick, it's very simple. Let's open a new window here and let's type ImageMagick, like this. Then you can press enter. You can then click on the first link. Perfect. So we'll land on this page. So it is a free open source software, so of course there is nothing to pay. Let's go to the download menu to download the software, and here we just have to choose the version of ImageMagick according to our operating system. So if you are on Linux, you can download ImageMagick for this operating system. If you are using a Mac, you can also install ImageMagick for this operating system. And finally, if you are on Windows, you can download ImageMagick directly by clicking on the little link here. Let's click on it and we can see that the software is downloading. Okay, so the software has been successfully downloaded to my computer. And now we just have to install it. So I went to my downloads, and for the installation there's nothing simpler. You can click on the .exe file, and there will be only a few buttons to press to download ImageMagick. It's very easy to install. So here I press yes. You can click on accept agreements. You can read the license if you wish. Click on next. You can leave the default settings, except maybe for create a desktop icon to avoid creating a shortcut to access ImageMagick directly from your desktop. Then click next, and now you just have to click install. So for my part, it is already done, so I don't need to click on install. I'm just going to close this file. But for you, you can click on install to install the software if you haven't already done. So once that is done, we will need to modify a Python file that is on our computer and that was installed automatically when we installed the MoviePy library at the very beginning of the course. So you need to go to the folder where Python is installed on your computer. A little tip, if you are using Visual Studio Code, in the terminal you should have the path to your python.exe and you need to go to that path. So here we can see that my python.exe file is in my app data folder. To get there, in my research bar here, I type %appdata%. I then click on the folder that appears. So here we are automatically taken to the roaming folder. Let's back up once to be in the app data folder. Next, let's go inside the local folder. Then you can click in program as indicated in the path here. So program, then Python 3.12. So I'm just following the path indicated here. And then we need to go to the lib folder. So this is no longer indicated here. So now you have to follow the path that I'm indicating. So next, let's go to the lib folder, then to site packages. And inside this folder, we have almost all the libraries that we download on Python. So here, we just need to look for the MoviePy folder. So here it is. Inside this folder, we find most of the files that were downloaded when we installed the MoviePy library. And here we need to modify the config default.py. You can open this file to edit it, so it opens directly in Visual Studio Code for me. So in this file, you need to change this line. There is a variable called the ImageMagick binary with the path to access the software we just downloaded. So ImageMagick. The path is not specified by default. I had already made the modification. So me, I have the correct path to access ImageMagick. But you will need to set the correct path to access the software. So I've installed it on my D drive. So ImageMagick for me is inside my D drive. You can see here the ImageMagick folder. I click on it and inside this folder I should have the magic.exe file. You can right click on it and press copy as path to simply copy the path to ImageMagick. Then you can paste this path inside this variable and put it in quotes like this. And then it will be good. We have indicated to MoviePy how to access the ImageMagick software. So again, I installed the ImageMagick on my D drive. Maybe you have it on your C drive. But don't worry, it will work the same way as long as you specify the correct path to the magic.exe file. And now that we have made this modification, we are ready to use the ImageMagick with MoviePy and write text on our videos. So that was all for the installation of ImageMagick. Again, if you have trouble finding the path to the MoviePy folder, you can refer to the path indicated in your code editor. So here on Visual Studio Code, I can find the folder where my Python is installed. So just follow the path I indicated to get the site packages folder, then MoviePy, and inside you will have the config_defaults file to modify. And once you have made the modification, remember to press Ctrl S to save. Then you can close this window. So that was all for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. So, I'm making this video in addition to the last one about the installation of ImageMagick because some people have encountered difficulties with creating text on MoviePy due to MoviePy not being able to find the path to the magic.exe file, even though the correct path is specified in the config_default file we configured in the last video. So some people, despite having specified the correct path to magic.exe, find that when they implement text on MoviePy, the text does not appear in the video. The reason for this error is that some versions of Python do not properly support what were called error strings. So the error strings are the strings where there is an error in the front, which allows us to define path using just a backslash, as used in Windows. It's much simpler for copying and pasting paths from a directory. However, in some versions of Python, this does not work correctly. So to resolve this problem, we will simply rewrite the path in another way. So we are just going to write the path differently. As a reminder, for me, the magic.exe file is in my D drive. For you, it may be another directory. And to solve the issue, essentially, you just need to remove the R and rewrite the path, adding an extra backslash each time we change the directory. So here I have added a backslash, and here I will add another as well. So you need to add 2 backslashes every time you change directory. So this is the classic way to define a path to a directory or a file in Python. With this writing style, it will work every time, regardless of your Python version. And once you have made the modifications, namely removing the R and adding the extra backslashes, make sure to save your file. You can press Ctrl S, and once this is done, you can move on to the next video, where we will be able to implement text on MoviePy without any issues. So that was all for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Now that we have seen how to install ImageMagick on our computer, we can start writing text on our videos with the MoviePy. So the text we want to write is the author's name on each clip. So for example, when the first clip will play, here we can see that the author's name is Mr. Hafizi. So I would like the author's name to be in the top left corner. So the name Mr. Hafizi will be written throughout the clip in the top left corner. And that's what we're going to do in this video. And of course, it needs to be an automated solution that does it for each clip in the folder. Very well. So before that, we also need to tell to MoviePy which font to use for writing the text. Actually, by default, MoviePy will choose a basic font, but it's not a font with a very good quality. So the best practice I recommend is to choose your own font from the internet and incorporate it into the script. So I chose a font called Roboto. It's a royalty-free font, so you can use it without any issues. And so this is the font we will use to indicate the author's names. Very well. And so like with all the other resources, we are going to import it. So here I skip a line and type font path like this. Then I type equals, and here I can copy past the line above. And I'll just have to replace transition.mp4 with the font.ttf. Be sure to write it correctly. Perfect, so we've completed the first step. We have imported the font. And then all that's left is to display the author's name on each clip. So since this is a modification we'll make to each clip, we will write our code in the loop, because it is in the loop that we process each clip. And first, we will need to make a few small textual modifications. We can see that in the file names, besides having the author's name, we also have some numbers with a dash here. And these are the things we do not want to display. So first, we are going to remove the numbers, the dots, and the spaces to keep only the author's name. For that, we need to import a library, which is the OS library. So it's a Python library that allows us to interact with our operating system. OS is for operating system, by the way. So with this library, we can create files, folders, delete them, etc. So therefore, we will use this library to retrieve the file names and remove the text we do not want to keep. Very well. So here, let's type a command, extract the name from the clip path, and I will create a new variable that I will call name, which will contain the name of each author. And then let's type the function os.path.basename, and I put clip path in parentheses. So what does this piece of code do? This piece of code simply retrieves the full name of each file. So right now, this code will retrieve 01-Mr. Hafizi. Next, we will need to replace the text we do not want, starting with the .mp4. We don't need this part of the text, so let's type the method .replace, open parenthesis, then in quotes type .mp4, and then we type again inside the quotes basically nothing. Here we are just replacing the .mp4 with nothing, because we don't want to put anything in place of the .mp4. Perfect, so at this stage we have removed the .mp4 .mp4. And now we just have to remove the 01 dash and space. So to remove these characters, we will use another function called the lstrip, which is a function that also allows us to remove characters, but it works a little differently. We will basically indicate all the characters to be removed in each name. So here we want to remove the digits 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And we will also indicate that we want to remove spaces and dashes. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm simply indicating the characters that I want to remove. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm also indicating the dash and then the space. And that way, all these characters will be removed. So it's quite simple. We first remove the .mp4 and then we remove the numbers, the spaces and the dashes. Very well. So now that we have the author's name cleaned, we will incorporate it into the video. For that, right after the video clip variable, we will create a new variable. So here let's type a command create a text clip object with the clip name. So in MoviePy, text have a predefined object. Just like we have an object for videos and an object for audio files, so we had the function audio file clip for audio files and the function video file clip for video files. And so just like them, we also have a function for text, and that is what we're going to import. So let's scroll to the top and we will import the function text clip. Perfect. And with this function, we are now able to create a text clip object. So first here, let's create a variable called the text_clip. And then I just call the text clip function that I have just imported. So first of all, I would like the name to be displayed always in uppercase. For that, first I'm typing the variable name, which contains the name of the author, and then I type .upper to have the text in uppercase. So we can type it like this, with an opening and closing parenthesis. And by doing this, all the text will be in uppercase. Next, I need to define the font size. So this is done with the font size function, like this. And then we need to define a number that corresponds to the size of the text. The higher the number, the larger the text will be. Here I put 100 because it is a sufficient value to have text in the top left corner that is small enough. Next, we can define the color. So I recommend using white because if you use a somewhat extravagant color, with the colorful background of video games, it might not be clearly visible. It depends of course on the content you want to automate, but generally it is best to use white, especially for video games. Next, we need to define the font we want to use. So for the font, we've already imported it, so we just need here to redefine the path. So we type font equals to font path, and that way we will be able to use the font we imported. Then let's complete our code by defining the text position in the video. So as I mentioned earlier, I want to put the text in the top left of the video. For that, let's type the method set_pos like this. Let's open two parentheses, and here we need to provide two pieces of information. We need to set the horizontal position and the vertical position. Let's start with the vertical position. So here I can just type left, and then we can type top. This way I will have the text in the top left corner. If I wanted to put it in the top right, here I will replace left with right. Perfect. So that was for the position of the text. And finally, the last parameter we need to modify is the duration of the text. So this text needs to appear from the beginning to the end of the clip. For that, we can use setDuration, just like we did for the music. And then we can call our video clip variable. And we just have to type .duration to indicate the duration of the clip. Perfect. So one last piece of code we need to add is the merging of the video with the text, because here we have one video for the clip and one video for the text, and we need to merge them so that they overlap, exactly as we did for the video sound, where we overlapped the music with the sound of the clips. So if you remember, we have used a function called the composite audio clip, and in the same way we will use the function composite video clip to merge the two videos. So here let's import the function composite video clip, and then we will be able to call the function and use it. So let's create the variable that will use this function. But first I will add a comment. Let's type combine the video clip and the text clip, and then I will create a new variable which I will call video with text. And here I will be able to call the function I just imported. So composite video clip. Let's open parentheses and then brackets, and here I just need to specify video clip and text clip. So first we have the variable that contains the video, the clip, and then the variable that contains the text, which is the name of the author of the clip. Also, here we need to make a little modification. Instead of putting video clip here, we will just put video with text to correctly add to the list the video that contains the author's name. And then it's done. We have completed the modification we wanted to make to the final video. If we scroll down to the bottom of the code, here we can replace video with transition with the video with the music. Perfect. We can then save the code, and now we can run it. So to run the code, we can do as usual. You can click on the button Run Python file to execute it. And there you go. So let's wait for the code to execute. We can see that the music has been edited. And now it's time for the video editing. So let's wait for the editing to complete. Perfect. So we can see that the code has been executed. And by the way, I just noticed that it's not a video with music here. It's not a video with music we should put, but rather video with text. Sorry for my mistake. So you can just type a video with text here. So now we can go to our outputs folder and start the video we just generated. And in this video, we should now have the author's name in the top left corner for each clip. Let's check that. Perfect. So here we have the author's name for the first clip. Very good. Let's speed up a bit. Let's see if the author's name is there for the second and third clips. So for the second clip, we also have the name. Here it is the sixth clip, so it looks the same. This is the third clip. We can see that each time you have the author's name appearing in the top left corner. Very good. However, there's a small modification we could make regarding the positioning. We can see that here I'm enlarging the video a bit. The text is very tight to the left. Let's put the video in full screen. So as I said, here we can see that the text is quite tight to the left, whereas on the top part, vertically, we have a bit more space. So this is because of the left parameter that we defined in our code, that the text has this position. So what we can do to make the text a bit more to the right? There is a solution to this. Instead of putting left, we can simply set the number of pixels to insert the text from. So here, if we put 1 pixel, for example, I will put 1, the text will be very tight to the left, since it will start from the first pixel. And so the higher the number, the more the text will move to the right. So I did some tests on my side, and the ideal number is 20. So here I recommend putting 20. This way the text will be a little bit shifted to the right. As I said before, the higher the number is, the more the text will move to the right. 20 is a good number of pixels so that the text fits well in the top left corner, with as much space above the text as to the left of the text. Very good. So once that is done, we will be able to run our code one last time to get the final video with all the improvements we wanted. First here, let's type clear to clean a little bit the console, and then let's run this code. Perfect. So the rendering is starting, and we will meet at the end of the code execution to see the results. So we can see that the script has been executed. Let's open the file video with text.mp4. So I'm opening it. And there we go. We can see now that the text appearing in the top left corner has been shifted a little bit to the right. I find it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing like that. Where before, the text was completely tight to the left. It's better like this. Oh, and by the way, if you ever want to change the font or the text size, so for the text size, you can just modify the font size parameter here, and for the font, you can change it yourself by replacing the font.ttf file. So you can replace this file I left in the project resources with another font you want to use. Perfect. So now we have the author's name displayed each time. And that's great. It's something often seen in this type of compilation on the internet, even in those shown on television, where the author's name is usually credited in the corner of the screen. Perfect. So we can close this video. And that was all for adding text on MoviePy. You have seen, it's not complicated to do. We do this with the text clip function to indicate the text we want to display with the font, also the font size, the position, the duration, etc. And then we just merge the text with the video using the composite video clip function that we just imported. Perfect! So that was all for this video. Thank you everyone. So, we have reached the end of this training on MoviePy. We have covered a lot of interesting things together to automate the editing of these clips. First, we saw how to assemble multiple clips to combine them into a single video. We also learned how to resize them to the 1920 by 1080 format with the 60 fps so that the video format meets the standards used by video platforms. Next, we saw how to add music, specifically background music, which we set to play until the end of the video to perfectly match its duration. We also covered how to add an introduction video and an outro video, as this is generally the convention for such videos. This makes the video much more professional, and of course, if you already have your own intro or your own outro, you can just use them by replacing the files that I have provided you. And you can do the same with the music. Then we looked at how to add a transition between each clip to ensure that the transitions between videos, between the clips, are professionally done, and so that the transitions are not too abrupt to watch. And finally, we saw how to add a text to the videos, especially to credit the different authors. For this, we first installed the ImageMagick, which is an essential prerequisite for adding text to a video with MoviePy. We then saw how to configure it, and then how to add the text and modify parameters such as the color, text size, position, etc. In the end, we have been able to obtain this video. We can quickly rewatch the beginning, so here we have the intro. We have then here the first clip, the music behind, the text appearing at the top left, the transition,
Got him.
Spike down. One enemy remaining.
Resizing.
Y'all should have stayed home.
Perfect. So the editing is really identical to the compilations of this kind that we can find on the internet or on the television. We have seen during this training that it is quite easy to automate this kind of editing, and that's what we did. And of course, this code can be reused regardless of the context of the clips. During this course, we have used the clips from the video game Valorant as an example, but you can also use the clips from sports, some funny animal clips, etc. The code will work the same way. You just have to change the music if you want, also the intro and the outro. For the transition, you can maybe keep it. It is a quite a generic transition that can be used in any context. At the end, you will get a video in the Full HD format with the 60 fps. So once again, it is a video that can be published on video platforms with the recommended quality standards. So if you haven't done so yet, the final code can be downloaded. And also, if you liked the course, please leave a little rating for the course so that I can read your feedback. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. And I'll see you next time for a new course. Goodbye everyone!